Hello, welcome to my first YouTube video. I'm going to show you how to make a granny square. Yay! So this is the blanket that I'm making. I found a picture of it on the internet and I couldn't find a pattern for it, so I went on Excel and I made a graph. And yeah, each square is a granny square, obviously. And so far I've done all of this entire row, and I'm on this section here, so I've just drawn on the piece of paper and made a graph and broken it up by section. It kind of makes it a little less overwhelming. So right now I'm working on this one, and I need 29 red, 4 white, and 2 blue. So I'm working on red right now. I tally it up and I do them in groups of 10, so even though I only need 2, I'm going to do 10 blue and then use them on the next section, just so I can keep track of how many I have. So I've done 150 red, 40 blue, and 50 white. I need a lot of squares. I need 980 total. Works to be about a king size. I'm using a 5mm hook, and this entire blanket takes solid color squares, so it's just one color per square. I'm also making this blanket, which has some squares that are 2, some are 3 colors. So this one's a little bit more complicated, and I'll do some videos on this one a little bit later. So I'm using Red Heart Super Saver yarn. This is what the finished squares look like. You leave a tail for sewing. The squares are super easy to make. This is the right side, and this is the wrong side. I personally like the way the wrong side looks better. If you actually look at the blanket here, I got some pieces. So this is the wrong side, and as you can see, there's a little bit of there's more of a distinctive pattern, so you can tell which square is which. And on this side, it looks a little bit more finished. You can't really tell. You can, but it's less noticeable between each square, and it looks a little more finished. But this side, there's more of a pattern to it, and the squares are more distinctive, which I like better. But anyways, what we need to do is we need to create our starting loop. So there's so many ways that people like to do this, and I find this is the simplest way. I really like it, and yeah. So you're going to hold your end in your right hand, and you're going to wrap the string around your left pointer finger. So you're going to wrap it around and then overlap it like that, and hold on to the end in between your thumb, like that. So you're going to take this piece that's on the bottom. It's the first piece you wrapped around your finger, and you're going to bring it over that piece and bring this piece up like that. I can do that again. So wrap it around, overlap, switch piece you're holding on to, and pull. So I don't have a problem with using a shorter tail, but if you have a hard time holding on to it, you might want to make a longer tail on your starting loop. But in the name of saving yarn, I'm going to use a short tail here. So you're going to pull that, and the first thing we're going to do is chain 4, and we're going to make a loop. So first we'll chain 4. There's my first little chain, and I'm going to slip stitch into this first chain to make my loop. Stick the hook in, and there's my slip stitch. So it kind of looks like a bit of a blob. It's hard to decipher, but there is a middle. There's a center hole there, and that's where we're going to be crocheting into. And I like to crochet over my tail so that it's easier to hide. So first we're going to chain 3, and that first chain 3 is going to count as your first double crochet. So first thing we're going to do is 2 more double crochets. So you have, it looks like a little block of 3. So 1, 2, and again I crocheted over my tail there so it's easier to hide. So that's our first little block here, like one of these, and each of these spaces is a chain 2. So we need to chain 2, and then we're going to do 3 more double crochets, and that's the pattern. So you're going to do 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2. You're going to do that 4 times. Two, and 3. So there's our second block, and then we need to chain 2 again, and then 3 double crochet. Let's try that again. And then chain 2. And the more you go in this first row, or this first round, the bigger this hole in the middle gets, and it doesn't look very pretty on the blanket. So you grab your tail, and give it a tug, pull it as tight as you can, and it just closes that hole right up. And we'll trim that off at the end. And then we need to chain 2, and then you're going to slip stitch into your first chain 3 and connect everything and make it a round. So, oh, camera fell. I'm going to slip stitch into there, and there's our first round. And now we need to slip stitch across so that we end up in this first space here. So you're going to do 3 slip stitches into these. So 1, 2, and 3. So now we're ready to do our second row. And in each of these spaces, in all the corners, we're going to do 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. So we're going to chain 3, and again that will count as our first double. And then we're going to do 2 double crochets here in that space. And then you'll chain 2, and then do 3 double crochet in that same space again. And then chain 1 in between each set in these spaces. So I've done my chain 1, and now I'm going to do 3 double crochet in this next space. And then chain 2, and 3 double crochet again in that same space. And then we'll do our chain 1 again in between, and then we'll do chain 3 double crochet in this next space. and then chain 2, and 3 double crochet again, sorry. And then chain 1, and then we'll go into this corner, our last corner. 3 double crochet, and chain 2, and 3 double crochet in the same space. And chain 1, and now you need to slip stitch into your first chain 3 again to connect everything, and then pull that loop out, and we're going to trim that, leave the tail so you can sew, and we're going to fasten this off. And then again, I'm going to give this one good final tug and snip that off. And there we go. So my next video I will show sewing together. So we'll be sewing this section here together. And then we gotta sew it to the blanket and then move on to the next one and the next and the next and the next. Until you got a complete blanket. Once I get there eventually, then I'll show how to do edging. I don't know which blanket I'll show the edging on, whichever one gets there first, I guess. So yeah, that is making a single color granny square. Thanks for watching.